When I was a youngster growing up on Auckland's North Shore, I was surrounded by really interesting people with good stories to tell. TV people, radio people, show people, people who just loved life and wanted to have fun. I remember these personalities, magicians, would come over to our house. There'd be laughter and there'd be entertaining and there'd be lots of stories, and it was just so enthralling to be around those people. So it was then, I remember I might have been age 6. I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to follow the footsteps of my father. But about the age of 11, I developed a stutter.
That story doesn't define you.
True. But it's those stories that shape us as humans. My HIV story, my jail story, my stutter story, they're personal stories. Some I choose to tell, some I choose not to tell, depending on the audience. I would like people to share more personal stories. The stories I say are personal, are your values, your thinking. Anything personal brand, anything of your opinion on life relates to your business. But to anyone listening, just own who you are. If I think about my journey, I think about a little bit emotional when I think about this, because I really do picture myself as an 11-year-old. I think I manifested a stutter because I put so much pressure on myself to perform, to be as better or as good as my father, grandfather. I just want to tell that young man, just be yourself.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to go from radio broadcasting to shaping how business leaders tell their stories on stage and video? Today's guest has lived that journey, and he's here to share secrets behind powerful storytelling that truly connects. Welcome back to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Dahya, and I'm grateful that you're here listening or watching this episode. We'd love for you to share this episode with your friends, your family, and your workmates, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe so that we get this out to the wider world and we can make an impact in this world. This episode is sponsored by AI Workflows and The Crate, the co-working space here in Albany. AI Workflows is your one-stop shop for anything to do with AI and automation. We help business owners reduce the manual tasks, get them out of that repetitive tasks, and actually help them to reclaim the time and do things that they actually love. So if you're keen to get in contact with me regarding your workflows, then look at the link in the show notes and get in touch. So today, Mr. John Maybury, we're joined by you. You're a third-generation Kiwi radio broadcaster who's carved out an incredible career across iconic stations such as News Talk ZB, Hauraki, The Hits and ZM. And after moving to Australia, you built your media marketing expertise to work with the top agencies, global brands, and today you coach small, medium founders and leaders like myself to master storytelling, whether it's on stage, video, or social media. So welcome to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. You've also been recognised for being one of the top 15 coaches in Auckland and among the top 20 content coaches globally. That's a pretty good achievement.
It always sounds more impactful on paper, doesn't it?
Then it does.
You listen to it and it's like, is he talking about me? Is he talking about me, Anthony? Thank you so much. Wonderful to be here. I think, lovely introduction. I think most Kiwis are quite humble, and we just want to, my purpose is to help folks, small business, find their voice. Whatever that looks like, whether you guest on a podcast, whether you show up on a video and show up on a stage. But underneath those pieces of, what are we going to say? And that's when ultimately, it's always the first thing, whether you're opening a podcast. It's like, okay, cool. Well, cool. I've got the setup. Now what am I going to say? And most folks fall down. And I tend to work with left brain, professional services, people who are data-driven, and not particularly good at connecting. Yeah. And we connect by telling stories.
Absolutely.
And
Now, before I go into any questions, I actually want to ask you the very, very fundamental question, which is, I think, building context to who you are. I mean, we've heard about your professional.
Would you like to have my story?
I'd love to have your story from childhood to where you are today.
Sure.
So tell me, what's your journey been like? What have you done? What were your highlights and your challenges that you overcame and like a champion?
Sure. So when I was a youngster growing up on Auckland's North Shore, I was surrounded by really interesting people with good stories to tell. And those people were TV people, radio people, show people, people who just loved life and wanted to have fun. I remember these personalities, magicians, would come over to our house. There'd be laughter and there'd be entertaining and there'd be lots of stories. And it was just so enthralling to be around those people. So it was then, I remember I might have been age 6. I remember thinking to myself, I'm gonna follow the footsteps of my father and my grandfather into radio broadcasting and show business. I'm going to be John Jr. the Third, whatever it is. But about the age of 11, I developed a stutter. And I went to Rossmini College in Takapuna. And I remember lining up at the tuck shop to get something to eat, surrounded by all these prepubescent boys. And I'd plan out what I get to say, and I'd get to the front of the queue and I'd go, could I have a meat pie and a donut? It wasn't always that bad, but you get the general gist, right? And it was a total confidence deflating thing. My father was, joking. He said, "You'd make a bloody good comedian on the radio." And Mum was like, "Well, maybe this whole broadcasting thing isn't for you." But I was like, well, what do we do? How do we get past the stutter?
Do you know Steve Harvey had the same issue?
Steve Harvey, the
comedian.
Yeah, the comedian.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
And he said, I want to be a comedian. His teacher ridiculed him and said, you can't even speak properly. How are you going to be a comedian?
Yeah. And look, there's a comedian who stutters I follow on Instagram, and he's got a stutter.
Yeah.
And it's just entertaining, right? I mean, it's how do you embrace the positivity around a stutter. I'm talking mid-80s, right? And
so tell us more.
Yeah, so my mother introduced me to a lady called Carol, who helped youngsters gain their confidence by doing plays in front of people on a stage. And I did that for a further 20 years. And then I met Meredith. Meredith just lives up the road here. And she spoke beautifully. One of those beautiful speech teachers who taught me about monophthongs, diphthongs, neutral vowels, things I'll never bloody remember again. And I remember for a certain sound, the R sound, we had a book called Rhymes with Reasons. And there was a rhyme that you had to read out and you had to overdo it, right? So it was the R sound. And I would have been 12 or 13. I still remember the rhyme. Father's car is a Jaguar, and he drives rather fast. Arthur's cart is far less smart and can't go half as far. I mean, it's the stuff that you remember. Anyway, that was doing speech lessons, elocution, diction. She taught me how to use this instrument, which it is an instrument. And then I did lots of training, voice, stand-up comedy, understanding presence. And then age 21, I didn't have a stutter. I kind of did, but I kind of didn't.
But you learned how to master it.
I learned how to master it. If I think about my journey, and I get a little bit emotional when I think about this because I really do picture myself as an 11-year-old. I think I manifested a stutter because I put so much pressure on myself to perform to be as better or as good as my father, grandfather. I put so much pressure on myself, and I just want to tell that young man, just be yourself. Right?
Yeah.
To anyone listening, watching, just own who you are. Don't compare yourself to other people. I know it's hard, but people buy you, not your interpretation of who you should be.
Exactly. Your
Anyway,
authentic self, right?
my first job was at 91 Zenham in Christchurch. Then the hits in Hamilton, in Auckland, News Talk ZB, Hauraki. Love Songs Till Midnight was one of the shows that I did. The most dramatic show on nighttime radio. Gives a call on the Love Line 0800 80 Love. Here is Whitney Houston for you, Anthony. And I did that for 10 years. You learn things.
Yeah.
And then at the time I was also doing lots of MC work. I was the as an actor as well. I was the front person for the ASB Bank from 96 to 2000. Should have bought a house.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I had a great time in Sydney. And, you know, I'm a gay man. I'm very confident as to, you know, in the 80s, it was a challenging time of AIDS, that thing, growing up, and being gay was hard.
Yeah.
And I remember I'd done my 10 years in radio, and I remember I was in Sydney filming a TV commercial, and I remember it was September, around this time of the year, September, and I remember going, I want to go for a swim. It's hot. I'm going to move to Sydney, and I did. And that was kind of the time when you go, well, I need to go and learn to be gay. I think I need to go and be who is John Maybury, not attached to a father or grandfather, who people come up to you in the street and say, who are you in a relation to, right? I do miss that. But it's just so important to be you. And I needed to break free from family and chart my own course.
Yeah.
But sure enough, I found myself on a stage with a microphone, and blah, blah. But it was the juxtaposition of how do I unlearn everything that I thought was important. You know, working in agencies, it was more client focused rather than you and your ego and I'm the star, right? Which I kind of struggle with the self-promotion piece. As a business owner, you have to do it, right?
Yeah.
You just got to suck it up.
You're the brand.
And you're the brand, right? So you know, so I can lean on that experience, but it's not something that we as Kiwis, as even Australians, like to promote themselves. But yeah, I blame myself in agencies and worked for 15 years in marketing advertising agencies. It was fun. I love working with big brands, but the reason, and you know, there was a whole stream of lots of lovely, wonderful clients, McDonald's, Suncorp, Sony, LG, you know, lots of tech brands, FMCG, and I learned a lot, and you got paid well, but then you know, I think I got close to 50, Anthony, and I was back in New Zealand by that stage. I came back, my parents were both passed. I was working in an agency here, and I remember I'd worked with a creative director at GDB. He rang me up one day and said, do you want to start a business? And I was like, sure, why not? And that, again, another whole era, but it was, what I didn't like about the corporate world is you just don't get to make a difference, right? It's about lining the pockets of making clients look good, which is still what we're doing now.
I hear you. I spent 30 years in corporate.
Right, and it's just, you know, there's got to be something more to help my soul to feel as though I can make a difference or contribute to another human being. And those human beings, you know, I knew I didn't want to have corporate clients as my clients. I wanted to work with smalls because I feel as I could make a bigger impact. So after a few trials of different things as an entrepreneur, I failed, of course, many, many times. And it came back to how can I help my audience of small business owners, and I say business owners as opposed to employees, how can I help them speak, show up, be their purpose, tell stories on video when they speak. And that's largely where it is at the moment. It's been 6 years, as you know, the last 5, 6 years, up, down, up, down, up, down. I think I've grown more as a human being in the last 5 years.
Oh, you do?
But you know, is it worth it? Well, if someone had told me what it's really going to be like, not sold on that. You know, you're going to be a digital creator, you'll be working in Bali on a laptop. That was the thing that I bought into. It's not.
No, it's not. And you know what? But the thing is, like, you get to a point, and I mean, look, I've been through, like you, I struggled to speak properly. Well, I didn't stutter, but I had a really small voice, and I remember back in the church days, getting up on stage and the worship leader saying, music director saying, you need to go and get some lessons because we could barely hear you. And I went to David Feehan. I don't know if you remember David Feehan. He used to be part of the Roger Fox big band.
Okay.
And he trained me, and I went from like a mouse to like a lion, right? Now I've got this boomy voice.
Breathing.
Exactly, yeah.
Diaphragm breathing, right?
But like, you know, like 30 years, 24 restructures, 4 redundancies. And I got to a point last year, end of last year, I was like, fuck this shit, I've had enough.
Yep.
And I went, I'm going to start my own business because I don't want to be looking back in my deathbed. Regretting what that I
100%.
didn't back myself, you know?
Yep, 100%.
So, you know what? It's absolutely worth it. If you put the hard work in, if you're consistent with what you're doing, then you're going to reap the benefits of the rewards of it, because the universe will bring this to you.
Yeah, look, my purpose is, and my why is to help people find their voice.
Yeah.
Because I've had to. And it's that emotional connectivity, telling that founder story. That's a learned story, but I find a new way to tell it.
Yeah.
Each time based on who I'm with.
Yeah.
And that's where it's stories underpin everything, right? Our experiences. And then it's just, well, what type of stories do we tell? And, most business owners on LinkedIn, right? It's going, well, if I'm pitching them to do some video or whatever it might be, I always say, look, there's 3 types of stories we need to tell. We need to tell some personal stories, we need to tell some success stories, we need to tell some, I call them educational stories. And people, well, this is LinkedIn. This is the business channel. I'm not doing personal. I said, look, this is not the story of how you were beaten as a child. It's not that story, unless that story relates to something you solve.
Exactly.
Right? The stories, I say, are personal, are your values, your thinking, anything personal brand, anything of your opinion on life relates to your business.
Yeah.
Because people buy you.
Yeah.
And my first iteration of my business was like, well, I'll just get people to tell personal stories. And it's like, they want to jump in and, but I want to talk about what I solve. I was like, people don't connect with you based on what you solve. They do, right? They do, because you need to solve something.
Yeah, but it's a personal connection.
It's the personal connection. It's almost like the first interview you have when you go to a job, or the first meeting you sit down. There's an icebreaker. You talk about what Kiwis are like. They talk about if you're in Christchurch, which school did you go to, and if it wasn't the right school, well, you're not the right person, right? But that's the personal stuff. That's where the connection happens.
Yeah.
So, how do we wrap those personal experiences into little mini stories that we can tell for different audiences, right? I get that what I would tell you on a podcast, if you had a suit on and you're a high-powered lawyer, I probably would choose a different story. I probably wouldn't tell my gay story, right? Right? I just tell I choose the story for the person that I think is going to make that biggest impact.
Yeah. So
I might have jumped down like 10 questions on that one.
That's all good. I'm quite keen to understand, looking back at those experiences, what did you learn about connecting with the audience?
Look, funny you mention that, is I remember opening a Westfield shopping centre in Sydney. It was Westfield Burwood, and there was 1,000 people on the mall. It was me interviewing, I think who was the ice skater in the Sydney, was it the Athens game? The ice skater who came from last because everyone fell down? Bradbury.
Okay.
Right? Stephen Bradbury, I think his name was. Anyway, I'm interviewing him on stage, bit of whoop, and I had to warm up the audience and be the interviewer, right? And Westfield booked me for a number of those, and I had a big voice, and I liked asking questions. But I remember when I was on stage, my theatre training would tell me to speak to the back of the room.
Yeah.
Right? You speak to the back of the room, you can be heard. The problem is that you don't actually connect with the audience because there's no eye contact with them. So I remember in this one time, I was opening this shopping mall, and I found myself looking and talking to someone on the front row, and you just suddenly the hello there, ladies and gentlemen, came to, hi Anthony, how are you? It was total connection, and it was quite confronting because you're used to this, almost that fourth wall, But it's not about the fourth wall. It actually breaks it down by talking to them. Sure, there'll be some people like going, what you're talking about? Yeah, I'm talking to you. And it almost changed my opinion on public speaking. We all receive information individually. We might be in a group of people, but we all receive and feel that information ourselves.
Yeah, it's based on our experiences and our perspective.
Right?
Yeah.
So the public speaking thing is we're just talking to one person. I was taught very early on in those radio days when you're sitting opposite the microphone, you're sitting there with this microphone here, and you lean in, all you're doing is talking to another person sitting on the imaginary friend on the other side of the studio desk, right? Same thing here, right?
Yep.
Or lots of people might be listening and knowing how popular your podcast is, lots of people. But it's all individual, right?
Yeah.
We're just having this conversation. Yes, we need to be aware of how fast we speak and things. So that was probably the biggest learning for me, was that I help people almost just communicate and communicate individually so we connect.
Yeah. And so that strong run in New Zealand radio, and that inspired you went to Australia. Now, how did working with those big brands and agencies sharpen your perspective on storytelling compared to broadcasting? What did you learn through both of those?
The key difference is storytelling on media, on the radio, was in the now, right? There's a little bit of preparation between a radio jock or announcer, what have you, would tell a story of something that happened on the way to the studio or something that happened on the weekend, right? There's not a lot of planning that goes into the story. And you just tell the story sometimes, and the art of being a good communicator helps because you get better at telling that story. When you go to agency land, it's all very planned storytelling, because it needs to be signed off by lots and lots and lots of different people, and that's why they charge lots and lots of money for those clients. So it's more strategic storytelling, but it's still stories.
Yeah.
Still, I think the best story is the simple story.
Yeah.
And I think small business, or just humans, overcomplicate the story. If you think about your favourite, I'll ask you, can you think of your favourite TV ad, or an ad that springs to mind that you just go, that's an ad?
Gosh, I don't watch a lot of TV these days, but
I know, but and this could be ad that you've seen on digital, it could be an ad that you've seen
I always like that one, the Toyota one with the dog.
The dog, right?
Dog
Bugger.
that ends up in the mud and goes
Cool.
bugger.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And what's the reasoning? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, I haven't actually thought about it in a story sense, but it's to do with the
story is
there's a truck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that it can get through the mud and get anywhere you want.
Right. But you can protect some things, but you can't protect the dog who falls off, and
exactly.
And it's just bugger, right?
Yeah.
The most simple, but it's the bugger.
Yeah.
The bugger and the dog,
Yeah.
and the mud. That's all people remember.
Yeah.
And then you go Toyota, right?
Yeah.
So how do you take the most simplest, strip away all of the bullshit? You look at a creative brief, and businesses, they want to do this and this. At the end of the day, creative agencies look at that and go, what's the most simplest idea? Right? I remember had a campaign for Telstra, and Telstra was going from, was it 2G, 3G to, no, 3G to 4G, or whatever. It was one of those.
Was that in Australia?
In Australia. This would have been 2008, just before GFC.
I worked for Telstra Clear.
Okay. So I was, I won this job as I was in the brand experiential space, telling stories, but in a physical sense, right? How do we have the brand come alive through sampling or engagement, or an activation on the street, right? Not traditional media, two-dimensional. This was organoleptic, multi-sensory experience. Anyway. But I remember Telstra, they're like, okay, we're winding down we want to demonstrate, we want to let people know that they need to switch off this 3G. It's coming. How do we do that? And I just said, I remember I was sitting with the head of client, right, the decision maker, and the group account director in the agency, and I just said, why don't you just do a 21-day countdown, the back of a truck, like a mobile billboard driving around. Let's put 5 of them around Queensland. It was a Queensland Telstra thing. And we'll just drive them around key spots based on, you've got all the data and media traffic, and we'll let people know. And then we try and tie in some personality pieces where, each day we might have key Telstra brand ambassadors would come and do a little talk, do a bit of PR, right? And, how do you've got multiple media pieces. The client just went, yep, cool. How much is that going to cost? I said, 800 grand. Cool, signed off. It was the best campaign because it was just the right decision maker going, yep, that's great. I love it. And we executed it, and it was just like, well, that was easy, right? I remember another campaign I had McDonald's as a client. Best client, worst client, right? Best client because it's McDonald's. Worst client because they're very finicky. Right, you're looking at budget line items and like, what's that? Oh no, I'm sorry, you'll need to squeeze that. Sorry, we're not expecting. But doing a campaign with Ronald McDonald in the middle of George Street, Sydney, and video content and capturing that, they were, it was fun. It was fun to do. I've won one little award, yay, which was for here in New Zealand. It was, funny enough, for ASB Bank. And the story was around their sponsorship of the tennis, and how do we create an activation of the world's longest tennis match. So it was a digital creation that was really created for PR, and of course PR everywhere, TV, radio, press, everything. And it was literally a tennis match between Auckland and Christchurch. You'd hit the ball, and it was through. You know more about this technology stuff, but it was trajectory. How do we, they could hit a tennis match between Auckland and Christchurch, and it was, that won a couple of awards or something.
Nice.
So, and then I do remember the last one, another bit of technology was for Television New Zealand. They normally spend their media through outdoor advertising. I said, let's try something different. Amazing Race was the launch, was the thing, and it was Australia versus New Zealand, and we went, well, how do we do something that's got an activation element? So we did a tug of war, a virtual tug of war, in a shopping centre at Sylvia Park, one in Westfield, Parramatta, and some very smart, I know the digital marketing agency or the digital agency did it, some amazing system where if you pull on something, you can measure the force.
Oh, wow.
Right, so they could set up for both sides, and it was all, so you'd have a tug of war, and they had a TV screen, and you could see the people, the Kiwis on the other side versus the Australians on one side, and it was all just, PR, and it was a wonderful campaign, and it was, what I liked about it was brands come alive, right? It's not just a TV ad or a billboard ad, it was about things coming alive, and the stories that come from that.
Yeah, nice.
But does that answer your question? I think I might have gone down a rabbit hole.
No, that's all right. You did well. I mean, you gave me three separate examples, so that's great. Now, we talked a little bit about helping founders and leaders move past that selling element, right? And getting into the personal and the connection. How do you actually help them do that? There must be some comical moments as well.
Look, I think about, obviously I said left brain thinking, mortgage advisors, accountants, bookkeepers, right? And it's for me, it's providing them with a structure, right? If you think about your favorite Lord of the Rings movie, Superman movie, every movie has the same structure. They follow a hero's journey, right? Yep. Hero's journey. And the story that I told you earlier about mine follows the hero's journey to about step 7. So I'm just using a structure that's been in play for many years. Just do the same thing. And the same thing is what you teach people around the structure of a story. And, let's take a very basic client success story is, it's a setting, conflict, resolution, right? Who, what happened, what was the outcome? And most Kiwi business owners go, problem, or I work with this client, problem, and then I need to give some more context and then more context, and then this happened. You've lost your audience, right? You lose your audience, and if you can put some dialogue in, and he said this, how do we? So for me, I teach them a structure. So for a client success story, I'd say to people, let's tell me your would you want to role play it?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So you can choose a favourite client. So tell me 3 things about your favourite client. Where do they work? Where do they live? What sort of industry are they in? How many people do they have in their team? Go.
Well, my favourite client is a doctor, a clinic owner.
A doctor, clinic. Where's the clinic?
Remuera.
How many staff?
I think he's got somewhere maybe 10.
10 staff, nice. You're giving a sense of size, excellent. And what do they love solving for their clients?
Well, anything to do with your face.
So making people feel.
Yeah. So
making people feel
like beautiful.
Feel beautiful. Let's roll with that. So
and also the hair as well.
You bastard. So let's tell that story, that first one. So I want to tell you a story about my client who is in a medical practice based in Remuera, got about 10 staff, and they just love making you look good, right? We've done the setting bit. That's the first bit. Paint the picture. I say to people, you can tell more. If you think about your opening scene of your favourite book, it was a winter's day and it was, we were cold, we were sitting in a little, right? That, for all the right brain thinking people, they're like, I can see the cottage, I can see the outside, it's a storm, there's rattling windows, right? That's good, right? What was the problem? Every story, I'm pausing for effect there, every story must have
a problem,
right? What's the one problem that this client had, Anthony, this medical practice?
For my...
for your business.
So...
We're doing a bit of coaching here.
Yeah. And the problem is that he's got a busy clinic and he's got lots of people coming to reception. Staff are busy and often there's lots of calls coming through as well. And they're not able to get to the calls and there's a lot of overflow calls.
Excellent. So how do you tell that in 5 words?
This
is the hard bit.
Yeah, so they've got...
using brevity to simplify the problem, but clients weren't getting their calls answered on time. Is that the problem? Is that the problem?
Yeah, they're missing.
Now you can hear there could be lots of problems. It's our job to tell the right story for the right client. So if you were telling that story, Ian, is it about an answering service? What was the solution for you? Well, just get a sense.
We're building a voice agent.
Cool.
That automatically takes calls and bookings.
Taking calls and booking. Nice. So you can either take it from clients, from a client perspective, the problem is he was losing money.
Yes.
And how much money was he losing?
It'd be hundreds, if not thousands.
Cool.
A day.
It's cool. So this is that's a bigger problem than the call's not being answered, right? So you've got to choose when you're talking to somebody. Are they left brain, right brain? Are they, is it about? Are they doers? So it's about, but the calls weren't getting answered on time, but he was losing $100,000 a day.
Yeah, possibly.
Right? You can hear that there's 2 very distinct problems, one bigger than the other. It's our job to choose the different problems and just keep them short. The next piece of the story is the outcome. And most business owners, yourself, myself included, often want to talk about what we did for them. But in the context of a story, the person you're telling it to, they don't care about you. They care about their problem being solved and having an outcome. So I'd say setting, conflict, losing money. We came in, and now he has a automated sales agent, and he's making $50,000 a day. Right? You can hear that the outcome was congruent with the problem.
With the problem, yeah.
So if you want to make $50,000 a day, let's talk. It's your call to action.
Exactly.
Right? So I'm a big fan of a client success story. Most people overload it with too much context, too many problems, and they talk about what they did, when in fact, no one really cares.
No. People just want to know what outcome they're going to get.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, for me, there's personal stories, client success stories, and educational stories. How can we use a historic moment, a story in time, to paint a position of how you can solve something similar, right? One of my favorites even is an introduction story. It's when you go to an event, right, and people say, "Oh, so what do you do?" And if you're an accountant or an AI coach, I know it's, because people just go, "Hey, oh," right? I tell an introductory story and it goes like this. People say, "What do you do?" Well, when you go to KFC on a Friday night with the wife and the kids in the back and everyone's just famished, and you just get into the drive-through and you look up on the menu board and you see the Colonel burger.
Yeah.
And you've already devoured it in your mind. You get to the you pay, everyone gets all their food, you get to the thing, you open up the thing, you look at the Colonel burger, and you look at it and you go, but it's a slap of mayonnaise, piece of bloody rubbery chicken, and between two soggy buns. You wonder how KFC can get away with the marketing of that in their business.
Exactly.
Right?
Same with McDonald's,
right. It's like, yeah, very similar. What I do as a speaker coach is make sure what you choose on the menu board is the same as what you get after you've gone through the driveway.
Yeah.
Right? That's all I'm saying, but I'm using an anecdotal story to paint a picture of when a problem exists that can be related to what I solve. And people, the left brain thinking people are, where's he going with this, right? But the right brain people are saying, oh yeah, right, I'm with you. They nod the Colonel burger because it's shit. Oh. It's tasty.
Yeah, it's tasty.
It's tasty, but it
doesn't look very good.
It doesn't look like the picture, right? And so introduction stories, client success stories. I believe that everybody needs to have an armory, a bank of stories that you can write up, learn, and then pull out of the bank when you need to use them.
Absolutely. Now, when you're teaching these leaders how to tell these stories, how do you help them deal with the nerves and also coming across authentically, right? What's the process that you help someone through this to show their best self?
Cool. I generally say, get up in front of the microphone and the camera and give me a talk for 4 minutes. Go.
And let them ramble.
And just let them go.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a big fan of the concept of being aware of something before you can improve something, right? The nerves are good,
Yeah.
right? You and I both know that when we speak, nerves tell us that we want to do well. That's good. Nothing wrong with them. Just the level of nerves is how well you're prepared for the talk or the video. And most people, I can do videos, not a problem at all. Put up the camera, there's a thing, and then I just go blah, 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 for like 2 minutes. And then I think I better stop, right? And you look back at yourself, shit. No preparation, no thinking about, not thinking about the audience. So my process is have them be aware. You'll be very nice. This is the only place I use AI. Shh, don't tell anyone. I have, often the first day, I'll just do a video with people. Give me a talk. Anything you want. Choose a topic, go. And what do I talk? It's not about you. It's not about the topic. Just start talking.
Just start.
Just start. And what it enabled to do is then we can take a transcript of that, or even a video of it. There's some smart AI tools out there that can demonstrate and give you your baseline of your, I'll say, often it's rate of speech, how fast you're speaking, your inflection, your filler words, your pausing. Those are the main ones, and most people have never seen themselves, let alone had someone say, look, you're speaking at 98 words per minute. Your English is a second language for a lot of people who come to me. People can't understand you. So do you want to know how we're going to work through that now, right? So do you want to improve on that? You've got to get that agreement, right? Excellent. We're going to work on rehearsing your talk. And for me, it's about breaking down that experience of what are we saying and then how are we saying it, right? I don't want people to learn things, but it's just like stand up there, do your talk again. The more times you do it, the easier it becomes.
Consistency equals competency, and then it equals confidence.
I don't use any fancy words like that. It's just about repetition.
Absolutely. Repeating
that with somebody there to guide you, right? Now, if you go to BNIs, right? Most BNI networking groups, they stand up and they say the same thing, they talk about what they do, and half the audience falls asleep, right? That's because they've come along, they've just followed what other people do. There's no coaching, there's no training on how to speak. You find your way. Whereas if there was a coach who came in, I would say to people, don't start with who you are. No one cares about you. Start with, I want to have you make more money. So it's, it's giving people the structure, starting with a hook, giving some value, having a call to action, repeat it, and then how are we saying it, right? And everybody's different. Some people have high voices, some people have low voices. Are we going to transform the voice in 6 sessions? Probably not. And I think the biggest transformation is rate of speech, pausing.
Yeah.
That's it, really.
Yeah.
Right, and
probably
then
diction as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, diction is
takes time.
I've had people come to me and say, "Oh, I am Russian, and I sound like I'm going to put a bomb on your house, I blow you up, and all I'm doing is saying, right?" It's like, now, you're talking about accent reduction. That is not something that I focus on. I have lots of people that I can refer accent reduction, and it's not something that you can just clip. It's rephrasing how you say words.
Yep.
And that sometimes can take 6 sessions, 20 sessions, or 3 years.
Yeah.
Depending on how good the teacher is and how much time you're willing to practice to put on the time to obviously do that. So how do you have people be less nervous? You rehearse them. You help them understand, help them be aware where they are here. I say with a lot of small, medium-sized businesses, I ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how effective and memorable do you think you are when you speak? Now, I'm going to give me a number, right? 1 is poor, 10 is amazing. Where do you think you are, Anthony?
I think I've got room for improvement. So I think I'm probably like a 6 or 7 maybe.
Yeah, I'd say so. Right? Most non-speakers, and unfortunately, Kiwis have a low self-esteem, low opinion of their speaking skills, and they'll give themselves a 2 or a 3. Right? My job is to get them to a 6. To get to a 10, the transformation is you need to be doing more talks. And you'll do a talk, and the people will leave, or they'll yell something. And go, "Oh, I won't do that again, will I? Right? You learn very quickly. Bigger audience, start with a small audience, make some mistakes. My job is to get people from a 2 or a 3 to a 6, and that's nothing wrong with being a 6.
No, not at all.
Right?
You're never ever going to get there. Like you're always going to have room for improvement, right?
Always got to have room for improvement. Look, I feel a bit. I call myself a speaker coach. Yet I'm not. I don't want to. I hate doing keynotes. Right?
Yeah.
I've got to. Okay, 2026. I promise I will be doing some talks. But it's also just thinking about what is the talk, who is the audience. It's about. I know that it takes practice.
Yeah.
For me to do it well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time, right?
Do you know, I used to be completely against Toastmasters. I don't know, there was just something about Toastmasters that I was like, yeah, I'm never going to do that ever.
You should go along.
But you know what? I did.
Good.
I went along and I was there for 2 years. I've just I've taken a break and I'm going to go back next year.
Yeah.
But I learned so much because I don't know if you know John Davies. No. But yeah, just the group of people, like it was quite an older group, and having someone like me near that challenged them a little bit in different ways, in technology as well. I came out of it actually, quite good. Like I learned a lot along the journey.
Sure.
And for me, it made me more aware about how I show up on the podcast as well. And every time I edit a podcast, I listen to myself and I go, okay, there's some feedback there I need to take.
Yeah, what you're doing here with the podcast is you've got to edit yourself, and you get to yourself and you go, oh, there's me again. I do the same thing. I had a client of mine whom one of my little 10-10-10 video products is, he came to me afterwards and said, I don't like my rosy cheeks and I don't like my teeth. and I replied to him, I should have done it in person, but I did it in an email. I said, well, I don't like myself either when I do videos. I see my crooked eyebrows, my yellow teeth, but I've done 2,000 videos and I know that. You see, we're not making the videos for you.
No.
We're making the videos for people that don't know you.
Yeah.
Don't know what rosy cheeks and your teeth, right?
Yeah. 2 years ago, I just come out of corporate and I was going into this coaching journey, and I think 2 or 3 years ago, 3 years ago, I just started my podcast. And I've been a singer. I've sung on stages in front of 40,000 people, sung in Las Vegas and things like that. But getting in front of a camera and talking was challenging. So what I did on New Year's Eve, as I said, I'm going to get up every single day of the month of January, and I'm going to do a Facebook Live. And it started off at 5 minutes. And then on the last day of January, I did an hour and 15 minutes or something like that, with no script, nothing, just purely off the cuff.
Yep.
But what that taught me was just like repetition and consistency.
It removes the option to go, oh no, I can't do that because it's that. Right? We're doing a podcast now and we're treating it as live.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't edit out too many bits, but yeah, it's...
But you're also doing it for a reason, right? You're, like for me, this podcast is to create an impact. So it's not about me at all.
Correct. So I think coming back to that question of preparation, the wobbly nerves and the strain in the voice, all of that comes out through participating or actually doing the talk. And if you've got I think there's some statistics around. If you're doing a keynote of 45 minutes, you should be doing something like 10 hours per every 2 minutes. Maybe even less, maybe it could be even more, right?
Well, I've heard
that's a lot of preparation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions you need to think about particularly if you're getting paid a lot of money. It's about your tone of voice. It's all about I would give people a note on video of a lot of Kiwis will do I have an upward inflection on the end of their sentences. G'day, mate, how are you? Right, very Australian, right? I've got to think about it. But, an authoritative downward, Anthony, lovely to meet you, right? The opinion of the person is like, well, he sounds authoritative.
Yeah.
But I can't give that note to someone who's not aware of how many ums or ahs they do, or they pace, or they, wave their hands around too much because they're, so blooming nervous. Let's give them the confidence along the way. First thing, I still find it difficult sometimes to stand still. It's, being aware of the fact that, I would normally stand here now and like putting my hands beside me, and slowing it down, giving yourself that time, being aware, and then, the next thing of having your gestures be congruent with what you're saying. It takes practice.
It does.
Right? I mean, I say speaking, I tend to use my hands anyway, and then sometimes it's inappropriate to use them. Lock them down and just let your voice do the work.
Absolutely.
I know my voice is quite good, but I've also listened back to myself and said, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I know how I'm sounding. Can I be better? 100%. Can I be more influential? Yes. Can I sell more? Yes. There's lots of things to improve. And I think the challenge for my ideal clients is there are 2 or 3. They might have done Toastmasters, and I'm an alternative to Toastmasters. I cost a bit more, but you don't need as much time.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm about focusing on
focusing.
3 or 4 things that are going to make the biggest impact in your talk upcoming in 6 to 8 weeks' time.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And making sure that we've got the right stories in there, we're involving the audience, we've got the right call to action that's going to get you the result that you want as a business owner.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so looking back on your own broadcasting and marketing career, what's been the most...
It was such a long time ago, we're talking the 90s.
Oh,
This
come
is
on, you're still young.
Stop it, you've got, what?
How old are you?
Grey hair. 57?
I'm going to be 55 next year, February.
We're old. I almost want to change my headline on my business. My headline, video content and speaker training for those over 40. I mean, all the people that I work with, they all have grey hair or bald, right?
Yeah,
but they also tend to be business owners. Most business owners. Well, I mean, you do get young people who run businesses, but they're not going to work with some old bastard like me.
You're not old, mate.
Yeah.
So what's been the most transformative lesson for you personally during this whole career?
Most transformative, I need to think about this one.
Because would have had to have a lot of resilience along the way. And, there'll be lots of challenges along the way as well.
Look, I think the overcoming the stutter thing was a momentous thing for me. I feel as though that was the thing that held me back from wanting me to achieve my goal. It took 10 years, right? It took a long time. And I was probably my own worst enemy at the time, going, well, you're not good enough, because we all run the same story, or a version of it, because I was putting so much pressure on myself to perform. So now I just, like, when it comes to recording videos, there's a couple of people on LinkedIn who reached out to me, just said, I know I have a video product where we script, right? I love that, because I just get to write out a great script. I'm great reading a teleprompter. I can make it sound like it's not reading a teleprompter. And my eyes, but it's quite controlled, right? If you think about the journey a business owner goes on, it's like, I need to write down the exact words because it needs to be right. Fucking people being right. Right? But I'm talking to myself here as well. It's not about being right. It's about being authentic.
Authentic, absolutely.
So I think that the journey of doing, and I obviously COVID forced us to be more resilient. So how do we help people find their voice? We find people doing podcasts, doing live streams, right? And we can do it from the comfort of your own home, but it's still not like this, right? But yeah, so I think there's been some journeys that I've been on, and I feel as though I'm quite good in a difficult situation, like the COVID thing, as I can adapt. So that's probably a big moment to kind of see that we're managing to find a way, or when you have no money in your account sometimes as a business owner, and it's like how, again, that resilience comes in, and you say, well, what am I going to do? You find a way.
You absolutely do.
You find a way. So it's, I think the transformation. Yes, the early thing was the stutter, but I don't think there was too many learnings as an employee. I remember when I was 17 years of age.
Being an employee is very safe, isn't it?
This is very safe, right? I remember I went to AUT and doing like a business. I went to AUT, but it was actually called ATI, but don't tell anyone. And anyway, I did a business course and what have you. And one of my mates, Stephen, he worked in an import-export firm, and silk ties were all the rage in 1986, 87. And he's like, John, you're really good at talking. Why don't I bring in some silk ties from Italy, and then you go and sell them at the markets? Right? It was a great business proposition. They'd land them for probably $12, would sell them for $200. And he definitely wasn't the talker. I definitely was good at, hi there, how are you? Engaging people. Those are amazing. You've got your name all over it. Anyway, and I went, no. What if I fail?
You what?
I said to him, what if I fail?
What if you fail? All right. What if you do?
That was my mindset as a 17-year-old. I didn't start my business until I was 50 or 48.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what was I thinking? I kind of wish I'd done this business thing when I was 30, 35.
But you see, life has a way of taking you through this journey of healing and change and stuff. And it's not until you are aware and you discover what changes you need to make and you take action on that, and then you make change. When you take change, everything else changes, right? And this happened to me early this year. After 30 years of working, after 24 restructures and 4 redundancies, I was attending a Tony Robbins summit online, and he says it's all about identity. He says when you shift your identity, everything changes. I was still in the employee mindset, but as soon as I changed to a founder and CEO mindset, everything changed.
Yeah. And
like you said, there are going to be times where it's hard, when you're going to have no money. I mean, a month or so ago, I had $700 in my bank, and I was like, how the hell am I going to pay my mortgage this coming week? But you know what?
You found a way.
I found a way. I ended up getting $19,000 in a week.
Wow. How'd you do? And then I'll go into that one. One of the other things that happened to me was a story that I probably don't really tell very often, and I think it's one of those personal stories that I have in my bank of when I moved to Sydney. I would learn to be gay, and within 3 years I was HIV positive. And I remember I was a big fan of doing lots of personal development courses. Have you heard of Landmark? Right? I did lots and lots and lots of Landmark. I remember doing the advanced course in Sydney, and I remember I told my sisters, and I needed to tell my parents. And so I can see myself, right? They say during your break, you need to go and handle something. You need to go and communicate something that is a challenge for a lot of people. And I remember strategizing, thinking, well, I'll tell Mum first because she's 10 years younger than Dad, and she's a little bit more aligned with her gay son. But Dad was, born in 1929. He's like old school and doesn't really show his emotions. Anyway, I'm in Sydney. I call Mum and Dad in Auckland. And ring, Dad answered the phone. I said, "Oh, Dad, John boy, how are you?" Chit chat. What's going on? Our connecting thing was we have a love of sport. We're talking about rugby, cricket, tennis, golf, whatever it might be. And then eventually we had a little chit chat. And so, is Mum there? No, she's at the movies. I'm home alone. And I remember in the moment just going, "Fuck, Dad, I've got something to share with you." And it was easy. I told him. I managed the situation, hung up the phone, rang my sister, just told my dad, "Can you just, go and ring him up, make sure he's okay," and da-da-da. And I kind of had complained to my parents, so, "I've been in Sydney for 4 years, you never bloody visited me." Well, a week later, they were on my doorstep. And it was there's sometimes, we talk to people that we don't tell our siblings, family, certain things, right? For fear of rejection or what have you. I am so glad now that my parents have passed that I have told them everything about me. Maybe not everything, but most things that, and I've asked them all of the questions that I need to ask them. I'm complete, right? There are so many families out there. And again, I lean in on business storytelling, but it starts with personal experiences that lead into shape the people that we are today, our values and morals and thinking. And, that's a personal story that I don't share often, and it's emotional for me to recall that. I'm proud of who I am, proud that I communicated what I needed to communicate with them. And I think I had a better relationship with my parents after that fact. So you didn't bring tissues to the podcast studio, did you? Right. So, it's and then there was another rollicking story that is definitely a story for another time. But have you heard of the music festivals, Coachella?
Yes.
Right? So I've been to 3 Coachella music festivals. I tell that to the young kids and they go, "Oh, you're an interesting daddy, right?" And anyway, so I met a whole bunch of people in the States, etc. And I wanted to go back to another festival called Bonnaroo, just south of Nashville, for my 50th birthday. And I was like, "How this is going to be cool." In the June, my friend was getting married, was going to be a bridesmaid. We're going to go to all these festivals through America, blah, blah, blah. Everything was paid for. But unfortunately, I got as far as Nashville because I got arrested and I went to jail.
Oh, what for?
Well, I might have had some drugs in my toiletry bag. And I'm a bit traveller beware. Make sure you check your toiletry bag for pingers, ecstasy tablets, whether they work or not. This story I've told on LinkedIn, but I wish I hadn't gone into great depths. But it was a transformative experience that, a lot of people will judge me based on, well, you've worn orange in a county jail in south of Nashville.
Who gives a crap?
Again, I don't care. But what it does is, I had an experience that money can't buy. Okay, I paid for it, right? But it was a rollicking story. I'd say I'm a white boy from Takapuna who's never been in handcuffs, been in a police car, let alone been in a jail cell wearing orange in the middle of America. But what was interesting is again, being self-aware of who we are as humans, having done all of that work in personal transformation work, how I was for those 7 days in jail, 7 days, blew my mind. Having conversations with people, going, where the fuck did that wisdom come from? Mentoring, telling, again, average age of the inmates were 26, right? They were half-wits, right? They weren't particularly smart men, and I'm an educated person. And obviously they looked at me and saw me as a celebrity because my saving grace was, oh my God, your accent is just so funny. Can you keep on talking, please? Okay, it wasn't quite as deep as that southern accent. But again, it's a story that we have, and I got out and all the rest of it. And, it cost me 20 grand, and all the blah 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 blah. But it's those stories that shape us as humans. My HIV story, my jail story, my stutter story, they're personal stories. Some I choose to tell, some I choose not to tell, depending on the audience. So you're lucky you got all three. And I can go into more depth around those stories, but if they're told well, you get connection from your audience. Yeah. They buy into, again, I'm quite emotional when I tell there's certain, the HIV story. Yeah. I mean, it's a long story, very personal. The jail story is 90% humor and then 20% total, the moral of that story is that the people who got me out of jail were the same people that I went to school with when I was 11. Because they found the lawyer and they paid the money and they just, so those people, every time I just think about them, I just go, I love them so much, right? God, you really need to bring in tissues for your bloody guests. And it's, I'm just very present to the story and me being in that moment. And I know that I'm telling the story well because I've practiced it and I'm in the story.
Well, you're also being authentic. You're being you. You're not just telling a story for the sake of it.
Correct.
But you're sharing yourself with the audience here.
Correct. Hopefully you.
And I think people will relate because I've had someone on my podcast who went to jail for murder at the age of I think it was 18. Spent 11 years in prison. Now he's out and working and doing stuff. But that connection that we had sitting right here, and he said, you made me feel so comfortable about sharing it.
So that's kind of my keynote that I am developing. I haven't written anything down yet, but is personal stories from hell and back. Yeah. Right. We need to tell the trauma stories so we can be better at telling the growth stories. Right?
Exactly, but also the trauma stories actually then help you in your own healing as well, right? And then it's something that you learn to let go of, because that story doesn't define you.
True. So but I think I would like people to share more personal stories, not the one that they were beaten as a child, or unless it's relevant to the person you're sharing it with. Yeah. Right. If you told that beaten child story, and don't worry, I wasn't beaten as a child, other than my traditional father belt. It's fine. But that story can help another person.
Yep, absolutely.
It just says you're not alone, right? By sharing those stories, and I think it probably came from those landmark times. I don't know if you've ever been in a landmark forum.
I went to the forum,
right? And they got the microphones at the front. They all do it online now. It's just a shame because the moment when someone just goes to the front of the room and the microphone and just says, I was raped as a child, and I've never done, they go into it, and the doves in the room just go, oh, I love you, right?
Well, I remember telling my story at the landmark forum, and because my parents separated when I was 5, I got sent to India to an ashram, which is crossed between army and prison, for 6 years. I never knew my mum until I was 21, and I went to Landmark Forum and I had all this hurt in there. And I remember ringing my mum and I said, for the first time in my life, I said, Mum, I'm sorry for the way I've treated you and I love you. and then she came up and did the landmark for him herself.
Hey.
So for me, that was like, and from that moment, it's been one thing after another, you know. But yeah, you know, like when we tell,
Out of sharing,
yeah,
right? Again, it's actually the value's in the sharing.
it is.
But the more personal you go, the deeper the connection is.
Yeah. Now, there's people watching or listening to this episode and what you just shared, and they're probably resonating with and relating to with it. What would you tell someone who wants to stand out through storytelling? You know, what would it be?
Just do it, right? Choose a forum, choose a pathway, right? Writing a post on LinkedIn is fine, right? Still, but it's share from the scar, not from the wound. Right? So if there is something, we don't want you to be a victim, because then your audience will see that.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, you know, the COVID stories and things like that. So I get it, but do not tell me I'm right or wrong. It's like I get it, but it needs to be the water needs to have gone under the bridge for you to, you know. So choose a story, be clear about how you're going to start it, the setting, the conflict, some dialogue, and an outcome. And I think, particularly as, you know, tall poppy syndrome here in New Zealand is share from, as I said, that scar piece, which is I'm humble, I've grown, I have much to learn, all right? But yeah.
From the transformation, yeah.
And it's hard. Like, I've got a client at the moment who is extremely confident at speaking, and we're doing some videos together, and I don't want to be a social media marketing agency. I help people create 10 videos, and I help them in their presentation and tell them, you know, help them in their content, and then edit them and send it back to them. But it's up to you. The transformation, the true transformation is going, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Post it. Just get it out there. It's not about you. You think it's all about you, but it's not. It's the value is I've got something to share.
Well, the whole meaning of the word share is not about us, right?
Correct.
Share is about someone else.
I always say, you know, as soon as it's a bit like doing a video. It's like, will you stop? You know, we've got this, we feel as though, people are looking, I'm so conscious. When we're doing this podcast here, I'm not, you know, I can't edit it, but I don't care. I've just not made what I've said about myself. It's about the audience, or you particularly, and when you forget about the thing of that, you know, the self-conscious piece, this weight lifts off your shoulder, and it's like, well, it doesn't matter. And if I drop an F-bomb or if I drop a C-bomb, it's like it might be edited out. I don't know, but it's just embrace your
authenticity.
Embrace your authenticity. Practice telling it out loud. It's easier. Good news is there's so many AI tools to transcribe your voice to text. It's easier. Well, I find it easier, but some people might like to write. So whichever the thing is, choose a story in your past. I think stories need to have a call to action. We said, how do we want our audience to think, feel, or do? Now, stories will be feeling, right? But you can ask a question at the end, and it's an open-ended question. You know, who, what, where, why, how, whatever it is. It's, you know, what do you think my next move is, right?
Yeah.
How can you help? How can I help other people?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And someone will reach out to you and say, can you come and do a talk on a stage, tell that story? And it's just the best thing that happened to you, because that wasn't possible by bottling or keeping your little story to yourself.
No.
Transformation awaits everybody when you get out of your comfort zone outside of that word of fear. Everything is possible.
Yeah. I want to share something. Like there's this Neville Goddard, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he talks about rewriting your story in the present moment. And it's like the water under the bridge. Stuff has happened, right?
Yep.
And you can't control it. It happened. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't someone else's fault. It was just a situation. When you rewrite that story in the present moment. Now, 2 days ago, I was on a call with a guy in Canada. He's also Indian. And he's developed this app that helps you reprogram your subconscious mind. And he took me through this process where there was a series of questions and I recorded my voice in ChatGPT, transcribed it, pasted it into the thing, and then submitted it, and it created a prompt. Then I took that prompt and put that back into ChatGPT, and it created my new story.
Oi.
What I then did is I recorded that yesterday, and now I listen to it 3 times a day. Now I'm reprogramming my mind with the new story, right? And when we start doing that, things start to happen in our life, start to change. This morning I woke up, I did that, and already I can feel a change in myself. And when you start to focus on someone else rather than yourself, that's when things start to change in your life. That's when opportunities come. That's when lots of things happen. When we become so self-absorbed, then it's just, and then we keep ourselves small. But when we focus on other people, that's when we can open ourselves up to be greater.
Look, I'm just this morning in my business networking event, I'm I'm going to say it humbly, I'm proud of it, right? I'm the best giver in my BNI group. I give the most outside referrals. And I put a little post about it, but I reframed it that way. It's like the view from the top is awesome. I love winning, but it's like I have a long way to go. Thank you for the people who showed me the way. I'm grateful, but there's power inside of giving. I feel immensely fulfilled by helping connect someone to where they want to go.
Yeah. Absolutely. And on that note, people are listening and they want to connect with you.
Sure. LinkedIn is the best place to do that.
Best place to do that?
LinkedIn, John Maybury, you easily find the good-looking guy with the lovely toothy smile. That might have had a little bit of airbrushed in there, but let's not try that. But yeah, LinkedIn, my headline is share your story. And, obviously the functional piece is, yes, I help people tell stories, but ultimately those stories need a medium, and the mediums tend to be bundled with doing video content and speaking on a stage. And talking to a stage of 10 people to 50 people, not keynotes of 1,000.
Awesome. We'll put the link. Do you have a website?
I do. johnmaybury.com.
Awesome. We'll put the links into the show notes so people can click on it and connect with you. Now, we're at the part of the podcast where I've got 6 quick-fire questions.
Ooh.
Now, I did send this to you, but I'm not sure if you actually know.
I'm quite good with off the cuff.
So,
go. What's the question?
You can answer this in a short sentence or a single word. And the first question is, how do you define success, and has that definition evolved for you over time?
Oh, it's a tough one. Defining success is by doing, by activity. Right? Success, I would have said, is a celebrity status. That's what I would have thought. You're on TV, you are successful. Right or wrong reason for being on TV. But success to me now is doing the right things that are going to move the needle for you and for your clients or people in your world.
I loved how Earl Nightingale put it. He said, if you're moving forward, you're successful.
There you go.
Yeah. Who's been your greatest inspiration and why?
Look, I would probably say my father. That's the first thing that comes to mind. He allowed me groomed me. I don't like that word. He groomed me and showed me the way. I remember being at the Easter show, and Dad has an ability, or Dad had an ability to patter, to do the little small talk and to build an audience that I couldn't do. I was, I just had this big voice, and I remember belting into a microphone, good old theatre trained stuff, and he just came up to me, son, you have this range of your voice. You have the soft tones, the whisper, the elongated vowels. You play with words. That's what people want to hear. So I think in those very early years, we listened to the people, and he was a great teacher, even if I didn't really listen as a teenager. But yeah, I'd say he would be a good influence.
Nice. What's something that you believe that others may disagree with?
That others will disagree with? Well, I think you'd probably say it's this tall poppy syndrome. It stops people sharing the story. What if? Now I get it. I've never had what do you call them, trolls on LinkedIn, and I know there are lots of women who have, and all I can say is that's just awful that people would do that. However, we need to put ourselves out there, and if we don't do that, I think if we don't do that, success is harder to achieve, right?
Yeah.
I think it's part of that activity. We've got to do something that scares us.
Yeah.
I just said to you, I need to do more speaking, right? I've already declared it now on a podcast with millions of followers, so I better go and do it.
Absolutely. Do it. Just do it, as Nike would say it. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Be authentic.
Nice. What's one message you'd like to share with the world?
One message I'd like to share with the world. Well, I've told you my jail story. I've told my HIV story. I've told my founder's story. I think I was talking to somebody who inspired me about doing some speaking and reframed my, I need to get it right perspective. When people say, oh, can you go and do a talk? It's like, just say yes, right? So the secret is really just say yes.
Say yes first.
Just say yes.
Figure it out later.
Figure it out later on, right? You don't need to, if a client comes to you and says, like, I've got $20,000 in this problem, can you solve it?
Yep.
Yes, I can.
Absolutely.
Right? But it might not be that you solve it. It might be that you pass that client on to somebody else who's better at solving that problem. And you might take a cut, you might not. But it's just say yes and figure it out later.
Absolutely. And that's what I've started doing in my business is I've partnered so that if I can't do it, at least I've got partners that can help me.
100%.
Yeah. And no man is an island. No one's ever made it successful on their own. So surround yourself with people. And as they say, you are the sum of the people that you hang around with. So,
yeah. I wish there was a significant other that I could spend a bit more time on Saturday and Sundays with, but I do enjoy my own company.
It's good. It's good. What does it mean to you to be a champion and to have a champion mindset?
What does it mean for me to be a champion? I think it's just about being consistent. Those very early on days of someone said, post 3 times a week on LinkedIn, comment on 20 posts a week or 20 people a week. Be strategic about that, but just be consistent and do that week in, week out for years. But it's the same thing when you go to a networking event. You go weekly. You make sure you have the conversations. You're doing the activity. So a champion mindset is about consistently doing the things that are going to move the needle for your goals. And I think as business owners, my business, as a business owner, we've got to do the things that scare us and do the things that are going to get us to the result, right? And I think if we do those consistently, we'll win and we'll have a champion
mindset. Yeah. Well, thank you, John, for sharing your story with us today, your stories. And I feel honoured that you've shared all three of those with me. And you even had a little bit of a cry on the podcast. Next time I'll bring some tissues with me. Your journey from radio to television has been, in marketing, the whole journey has been inspiring. And I'm sure people who've been listening to this are going to take a whole lot of stuff away from this. So those of you who want to connect with John, look at the links in the show notes and please connect with him and, give him more business because this man is amazing. As always, thank you for tuning into the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. If you've enjoyed this conversation, please share this episode with your friends, your family, workmates, your cats, your dogs. They might learn something as well. But more importantly, subscribe, because when you subscribe to this, the algorithms then help get this out to the wider community. And we want to send this out to the world. And we want to send a message that you have greatness within you, and you are loved, you are worthy. Champion your life, champion your greatness, and have an amazing day.
Very good, sir.